So LSU gets selected to play Central Florida in the Fiesta Bowl. Saints try to rebound following their loss to the Cowboys. All that coming up. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Cajun Connection. I'm your host, John Barons.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
Okay, so LSU will be playing the Golden Knights.
Interesting matchup. I like the matchup. I mean, you're putting Central Florida against a formidable defense in LSU. I mean, we get to see how good, like, the whole nation is going to get a glance at how good Central Florida really is. Because a lot of people are still doubting the Golden Knights because, I mean, they're in the Group of 5 conference and they have probably one of the worst strength of schedules in the nation, and which is why they have been undefeated over the past 2 years. Like I said, the only team they pretty much faced was Auburn in the Peach Bowl last season, and they got a pretty good victory out of that. And in order to be able to compete in the Power 5 like the SEC or the ACC or the Big 12, you got to be able to play under adversity. Central Florida lost Mackenzie Milton to a gruesome leg injury in which his career is probably going to be over.
Yeah, more
but
likely.
Their backup quarterback has shown a lot of poise. I mean, even without Mackenzie Milton, Central Florida did not miss a beat against Memphis, at least in the second half. They were out of sync in the first half, and then they pretty much outscored Memphis like 35-3 in the second half, knocking them off 56-41 to take home the conference title for the second year in a row and completing undefeated regular season for the second year in a row. These guys have not lost in a little bit over 2 seasons. And so LSU gets to take that Golden Knight challenge and see, can they knock off the Golden Knights off their high pedestal and bring them back to reality.
Well, you got to give the Golden Knights, credit where credit is due.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, they've dominated.
I was about to say they've gone undefeated in the last 2 years, and that's still an accomplishment. Even in their conference, you still got to win those games, and they came into the year having lost some NFL talent. So,
I mean, but Central Florida, they got one of the best offenses I've seen. It's just they don't really have a defense, though. That's their problem, and I feel that's what's going to be their kryptonite when they go up against Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson. Very talented very talented LSU offense who is trying to find that consistency.
Yeah, I mean, LSU has talent on the offensive side of the ball, but like you said, it's been consistency in executing 100% of the time, or close to 100% of the time, has been kind of their struggle. Also, offensive line has not been the best at times this year.
Well, I mean, offensive line was dealing with a lot of injuries. They were pretty much wounded. They were dealing with it. Ed Ingram was dealing with off-the-field issues. And then you look at Garrett Brumfield, who got hurt. And it was just like musical chairs with the offensive line. But going back to UCF about their offense, there's 2 guys to watch for. That's their quarterback, Dario Mack Jr., who had an amazing performance last weekend against Memphis, throwing 19 for 27, 348 yards and 2 touchdowns. And also their running back, who really took over after Mackenzie Milton got hurt. He took over in the South Florida game, and he took over in the Memphis game. His name is Greg McCray. He had 24 carries for over 200 yards. The guy runs the ball with conviction. He runs the ball with poise. And so I feel if LSU could put the clamps down on the Central Florida offense, LSU has more than a fighting chance of winning this game.
Yeah. One of the things that was a bit disappointing to me is to learn that Greedy Williams will be sitting the game out in preparation for the NFL draft.
I mean, I really hate this trend on how these, prospects have been sitting out for the bowl games. Like, this is your last game as a collegiate player. Like, enjoy it. Like, go out there and bask in it. Ed Oliver for Houston, he's sitting out in Houston's bowl game. And I saw this trend when, Christian McCaffrey, when he was at Stanford, sat out for his last game. Leonard Fournette at LSU sat out for his last game. And I understand you're a top draft prospect and you're doing everything you can to avoid getting hurt before going into the off season, before going into the combine, before pro day, because you want to make sure you keep your stock where it's at, or you want to raise your stock a little higher. Because if you're injured, the first thing the scouts are going to say, well, he can't stay healthy. And that's going to look really bad as far as getting into the draft. That's going to really hurt your stock. And so, I mean,
I know, but I mean, Devin White's going to be playing.
I mean, from an emotional standpoint, it'll be a lot better, to be out there with your team one last time, to be able to suit up and be out there with your brothers, your brothers in arms one last time, one last ride, one last hoorah for your team. I mean, this is a team that's recruited you. This is a team that's giving you the best years of your life. This is a team that's giving you opportunity, open doors for you. And, I call it like a way, of, turn your back on them. Like, look at Ohio State defensive end, Bosa, who is a top defensive prospect in the draft this season. And middle of the season, he left. And I think the game after that, they lose very handedly to Purdue. And just the departure of Bosa from the team, because at the time he was dealing with an injury and he wanted to focus on getting healthy. Business-wise, great decision. Business-wise. Morally and emotionally, not the best decision. And not only that, I feel like Tim Tebow said it best. I mean, doing stuff like that can come back to haunt you in years, because you want to be able to sit your kids down, or, 20, 30 years from now, you want to be able to sit your grandkids down and be like, this was the time that me and my team, went into the 14 playoff. This time me and my team was able to give UCF their first loss. You can reminisce on that. Well, you sat out. Now you won't be able to reminisce on it,
Yeah. And, I mean, is it because it's not the playoffs? Is that why? I mean, if this were the playoffs, I mean, you would like to think that Williams would play.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, he pretty much would have no choice. Like, Ed Orgeron would be like, you have no option. You are playing this game. Because 14 playoff, that's when we get into another department, pretty much.
Yeah. So, what do you think the matchups are for LSU versus UCF?
Well, I feel it's going to be the front seven versus Greg McCrae, of course. I mean, LSU has to be able to stop the run, in which they've struggled with in parts of the season. They had a hard time stopping Georgia's run for the first part of that LSU-Georgia game. They had a hard time stopping Alabama's run. I mean, overall, they've had a hard time stopping the run. And so I feel this game for their front seven to gain some confidence, because, I mean, look at Central Florida's offensive line. Probably not as big, probably not as fast, probably not as strong. Like you said, there's a huge gap between SEC and everybody else. And so either LSU is going to hold up their end of the gap, or is Central Florida going to defy everything that everybody has made the gap be? Another one would be that secondary, because I'm pretty sure the secondary is going to be led by Grant Delpit in this game. It's going to be the secondary versus Dario Mack. Dario Mack, this is only going to be his second start. But what he's trying to do, he's trying to build momentum going into next season. Because, I mean, safe to say next season he will be the undisputed starting quarterback of the Central Florida Golden Knights. And so what Central Florida wants to do, they want to beat LSU. They want to finish off a second straight undefeated season. And they want to build momentum going into next season. Now, I feel Central Florida is trying to also build a little momentum as far as maybe changing conferences. I feel that a win against LSU would definitely put Central Florida not only in the conversation, if they continue their success next season, to definitely be a potential playoff team and or a potential conference change.
You see them trying to make a bid for something like the ACC?
I can definitely see them in the ACC. Considering geographically, I can see them in the ACC. Now, as far as the way they play, I can see them in the Big 12. Just how their offense is, but they don't really have a defense.
Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 really doesn't go that far towards the East Coast, though.
They don't. I mean, it's mainly basically in the Midwest. You got teams that are in Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma. The furthest that it stretches is to West Virginia.
Like you said,
That's because West Virginia got thrown into that conference.
Yeah, I mean, geographically, they fit the ACC the best.
Like Missouri, geographically, they fit the Big 12 the best. But they got thrown into the SEC.
Well, I mean, Missouri wanted to change conferences.
And it's like they can't get over that hump.
Well, I mean, what'd you expect? It's like Texas A&M. They just beat LSU for the first time since joining the SEC. They still haven't beat Alabama.
They have beat Alabama.
They did?
Johnny Manziel.
Which year?
All right, you remember this was the year after Alabama beat LSU for the national title, and this was the LSU's first game against Alabama since the national title game. Bama came to Baton Rouge, and statistically, LSU dominated Bama all across the board. Bama ended up winning off a last-minute screen pass from A.J. McCarron to T.J. Yeldon. Bama won the game 21-17, and basically LSU exposed Bama on all cylinders. So Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M pretty much went into Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, basically picked off the bones and finished off Alabama. That was Johnny Manziel's Heisman season, actually.
Okay. I stand corrected then. Because, so that was 2012 then?
Yes.
Huh. Because I remember Alabama won the title that year too.
That was my senior year of high school.
Okay.
I was 18 at the time. I'm 24 now. So, and that was the only time Texas A&M beat Alabama.
Yeah, you forget things that you don't care about.
I will forever remember that game. I enjoyed watching Johnny Manziel just have his way with that Alabama defense. But that's what happens when, your rival exposes you.
Mm. So what are your predictions for the game?
Like score predictions or how the game's going to go?
Yeah, hell, both.
Score. Central Florida's going to get their shots in. But I feel that going against an SEC team, when you're playing in the SEC, you're built for 60 minutes and some. You're built to last however long you have to last.
Like 7 overtime?
No, that defense was on E. By the end of the second or third overtime, both defenses were on E. And they were tired. Like, I could tell they were ready to hit the showers, hit the buses, get to bed, get to sleep. But I feel that they're going to go back and forth starting out in the first half. I feel second half LSU is going to pull away mid second half. Central Florida is going to hang with them for about 75-80% of the game. Just due to, how the Knights fight, Mm-hmm. And so I feel that score prediction, defense is going to give up their fair share, especially without having Greedy Williams out there. I'm going to go ahead and say 37-28 LSU wins.
Okay. So like a 9.1?
It's not going to be a blowout. I don't see it being a blowout. I say 37-28 LSU wins.
I'll give you that. I like that score. And I have to agree with you. I do think that UCF will be able to hang with LSU for, at least a half. Maybe 3/4. But
I mean, just due to the atmosphere and just due to the circumstances, because ever since Mackenzie Milton got hurt, Central Florida, they haven't only been playing for themselves, but they've been playing for Mackenzie Milton, and I feel that has given them that mental and emotional edge over their opponents. Because Mackenzie Milton meant so much to that program, he meant so much to that school before going down. I mean, he still means a whole lot to that whole city.
Mm. All right. Saints moving on from the loss to the Cowboys.
They're going to bounce back.
They got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend.
And Tampa Bay, they haven't been playing too bad as of late, as far as past couple weeks has been concerned. I mean, they got Jameis Winston back out there, quarterback. Defense looked amazing against a very talented Carolina offense this past weekend. They picked off Cam Newton 4 times. They were able to get into the backfield, with Jason Pierre-Paul. This Buccaneers team is not a team to overlook. Though they're 5-7 and they're pretty much a game out of last place in the NFC South, they are a team that can serve as spoilers. And this is the same Buccaneers team that knocked off the Saints week 1 and hung 48 on them in the Superdome. So, I'm not going to really see this being a blowout, but I do see the Saints putting up a much better offensive performance than they did against Dallas. I do still see them putting up a good defensive performance because the defense has improved over the past few weeks. They gave up 14 to Cincinnati. They gave up 7 to Philadelphia. They gave up only 17 to Atlanta. They only gave up 13 to Dallas. So the scoring defense, the run defense is there. Pass defense does still need a little work. Though they sacked Dak Prescott 7 times, though they rattled him pretty much the whole game, Dak Prescott still passed 24 of 28, which is almost 90% completion percentage.
Yeah. And New Orleans can clinch the South with a win.
Simply just all they need is a win, and they clinch the South. And when you clinch your division, that means one thing only: playoff berth.
Yeah. So they'll be the second team to clinch a playoff berth. Rams did it this past weekend with a win, which had New Orleans won, they would have already clinched, but they didn't win, so they had to wait at least 1 week.
I wish they would have won this past weekend. I wish Saints would have won this past Thursday, because I had a feeling that Carolina was going to lose to Tampa Bay this weekend, and I was rooting for Tampa Bay to beat Carolina. I'm also going to be rooting for Chicago to beat LA, just so we can go ahead and win this Sunday and get that home field advantage. Well, yeah. I'm sorry, dome field advantage.
Well, there's still a chance that the Rams could lose to Chicago, especially seeing how they have to go to Chicago to play. Big question is, does Trubisky come back yet? Because I know they held him out precautionarily against who was it?
The Giants.
The Giants, yeah. I think he was questionable going to the game. I don't think.
If he was questionable going into the game against the Giants, I feel that he will be suiting up against the Rams, and I do feel we will see Trubisky back. This is a really big game for the Bears because they want to create more separation in their division. They also want to get another game closer to clinching a playoff berth. So, because the NFC, North is not decided yet. You have the order of March. You have the Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions. Decision's not decided yet. So I feel that all hands are going to be on deck in this one. They're going against probably the best offense in the league, led by Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods. That's just a few to name.
Right. And also, LA's matchup against Philadelphia, it doesn't look like a cakewalk anymore either.
Philadelphia, it seemed that their loss against the Saints has revived them as a team. I feel that it was a loss that they needed to kind of like a huge kick to the face that they needed to kind of like get their attention.
What happened to the offense?
Saints offense?
Yeah. They
were completely out of sync, and they were out there sleepwalking. I don't know what they put in the water out there in Dallas, but they were just... Defense was on point.
Defense
in most areas. In most areas, but the offense was just... They couldn't get anything going. Drew Brees, this was the most out of sync I ever seen him. Honestly. There were some bad throws he made that, he shouldn't have even thought about throwing.
Yeah.
It's just...
Drew Brees was uncharacteristically off.
I just feel that the Saints didn't put their best foot forward. And that's something they've been doing all season long, is putting their best foot forward against whoever stands in their way of the Super Bowl.
Right.
But the Cowboys did not come up with the blueprint. That was not the blueprint to beat the Saints. 13-10. Oh, they held an explosive Saints offense to only 10 points, and They held Drew Brees in check. Well, what about the Saints defense? Oh, let's talk about the Saints defense for a second.
A season high 7 sacks, 2 by David Amiata. So
also Ezekiel Elliott gets held to under 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, I mean, and all 13 of Dallas's points came in the first half.
So the Saints defense shut them out in the second half. Though the Cowboys drove the ball, they wasn't able to finish.
Cowboys also, I want to say, turned the ball over 4 times.
Oh, I think it was like 3.
Oh, 3? Okay.
I mean, I know they fumbled a couple times, though. I know they did.
Yeah.
But, but people want to say that's a blueprint to beat the Saints. I can guarantee you the Cowboys did not expose the Saints.
So if the blueprint to beat the Saints is to get them to sleepwalk here,
then you have a chance at winning. But I don't think there's a blueprint to beat the Saints because, you never know what their offense is going to put up. You never know what play they're going to run due to the fact they got Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram on the field. That offense is a walking, breathing Russian roulette. That is the best way to put that Saints offense. Their defense is surging and progressing as the weeks go by. Secondary still needs work, but they are progressing. The front seven is starting to emerge as one of the best front sevens in the league, having the number 1 rushing defense, led by an amazing defensive line with Cam Jordan, with Alex Okafor, David Onyemata, linebacking core with A.J. Klein, Demario Davis.
Yeah, and now they're really starting to show that they can get after your quarterback too.
7 sacks on Dak Prescott, who is a very much mobile quarterback.
Yeah, that's a key step for you. The fact that Prescott can evade, which he did. They should have had more sacks in the game, but
I feel what killed the Saints was some missed tackles out there. They had a few pivotal missed tackles, and it was just Sean Payton. As far as his coaching, he was out of sync. 2 early challenges that really killed the game because there are some plays that should have been overturned. Overall, the game was just a complete mess.
It was a pathetic game.
I can tell the Cowboys played 110%.
When Saints win or lose, even if the Saints had won, I would sit there and say that game sucked. It was ugly.
It was ugly, but I wish Saints would have pulled it out. And with Drew Brees, normally if it's a close game and you give him the ball with 2 minutes left in the game, he's going to be clutch. He's automatic as a quarterback in the last 2 minutes of the game of a close game. And so for him to throw a pick like that, I've never seen him make that crazy of a throw that really end up, losing the game for the Saints. But, who am I? I'm just a sports analyst. I wasn't there. I watched the game, but I wasn't in Dallas. So who am I to say, Saints probably put up
one of the coaching decisions that Sean Payton made, and I understand why he went with the option. But at the same time, it's like, okay, your offense is struggling. Why not just tie the game up at 13-all rather than go for it on 4th down and then do nothing?
I feel that Sean Payton tried to get a little aggressive to fill out that Cowboys defense to see what they would do. Because now it's like when the Saints offense is on the field on 4th down, it's turned to points where 9 times out of 10, they're not going to do a hard count. They're going to go at you. It's just the Saints offense is just bang, 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 bang. But I just feel that the Saints slowed themselves down, and I feel the Saints, they held back offensively. And here's how I say this, because in every game, you're going to see Drew Brees take some deep shots down the field. I didn't see a single deep shot by Drew Brees. I didn't see him take any aggressive deep shot throws, any aggressive window passes that he's famous for making. It's as if the Saints went from being completely aggressive to being just deliberately conservative the whole night offensively. And it's not credit to the Cowboys secondary. Now, the Cowboys secondary made some good plays in that game. I'll give them that. But you held Drew Brees to under 150 yards passing. Bravo. Drew Brees held back. I can just tell the Saints offense held back more than they should have in that game.
All right, so I'm actually starting to hear some rumors that the Saints can finish 12-4.
Excuse me?
Yeah, they'll lose 1 to the Panthers and they're going to lose to the Steelers.
They're not going to lose in the Dome. They lost to the Buccaneers in the Dome week 1. They're not losing the Dome again. That's not going to happen. Yeah, they're going to go against a very tough Steelers team, but I mean, I would love to see Big Ben have to handle that noise. He's only played inside the dome, I think, once during his entire career. Once or twice. Steelers and Saints don't really play each other often. And if the Saints ever do play the Steelers, they always go into Heinz Field.
Yeah.
It's very rare they send the Steelers to the dome. So I would like to see that Steelers team handle that noise.
Well, you know, I mean, the Saints always play better in the dome anyway. So, yeah, I don't see it. I see the loss to the Cowboys being kind of a fluke, where the Saints were sleepwalking.
I mean, we're going to find out as the season progresses if the Cowboys are that good or if the Saints were just that bad that night. I honestly feel that the Saints were just that bad that night. Honestly. I mean, now the Cowboys can prove me wrong. I do stand to be corrected.
Yeah. So, I have to ask this question. What the hell is up with the Pelicans?
Inconsistency.
I mean, they win, they lose. They win, they lose.
They just cannot find consistency. And that's just a I know I say consistency a lot, but it's a huge thing. It's a hallmark when it comes to being on a team, when it comes to being in a league. Consistency is the hallmark.
You know, it's like they'll beat one night they'll beat a quality team, and then the next night they'll lose to a bad team.
And it's just they lost to the Clippers last night. Like,
why? They're not a bad team, but
they're not really a bad team. Well, they are 16-7, so Clippers are doing pretty good this season.
Yeah, I'm more as like referring to. See, they beat one night. They beat. Oh no, some team with a winning record right now, and then I want to say it was the Rockets.
Well, I mean, their next
and
game,
then like the very next day they lose to the Knicks.
Like why? Well, I mean, their next game their next game's going to be tomorrow night as they face off against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks from the Smoothie King Center.
I mean, they should win that game, but
they should, but they're probably not.
Exactly, it is like there's no guarantee that they're going to win that game, even though they should.
It's just I feel that this team needs to really come together and really get things together. I mean, because the worst things get, I mean, because there's been rumors about Anthony Davis going to another team. Probably this season.
Yeah, but
there's been lots of rumors.
The potential of trading him mid-season.
But you do know for the Pelicans to trade Anthony Davis, do you know that it's going to take for a team to give us an offer that we cannot refuse? So it's more like eye for an eye. We give you our star, you're going to give us. We give you our face, you're going to give us your face as well, along with a couple of draft picks. I mean, because New Orleans, as far as basketball is concerned, is not, they never had a really good market. Now, as far as football, their market progressed over the years. They used to be one of the worst franchises in the league, and it used to be one of the worst landing spots to come to. Now, the Saints, they've built their market in New Orleans. Basketball, they still have yet to truly solidify a good market.
Well,
honestly, I wish we would have kept Boogie Cousins.
You really think he made that big of a difference, even though he missed nearly the entire second half of the season?
I don't think so. I mean, but I do feel that his presence on the court, I do feel it would make a difference, just the way he plays. But one thing that really stuck out to me about Boogie Cousins is something I learned about him, that though he does make an impact while being on the court, since he is one of the best, he is one of the better big men in the league, though he's kind of hitting that little fall off, is that he plays for stats. He's not too big of a team, but he plays for stats, not for victories. And I feel that ultimately that's why he went to the Warriors, so he can get himself a ring. Because, I mean, I don't think that he wants to have that time to always carry a team on his back for 82 games straight and just depend on one or two teammates to, put in their 2 cents. That's what he was doing at Sacramento.
Yeah. I feel like Rondo is missed more than Boogie is.
Rondo was a huge part because he is one of the best floor generals I've seen. And when you look at Rondo, I've watched a clip of him when he was mic'd up and the way he was like coaching his teammates. Rondo's a future NBA coach. Like, the guy knows the game and he is a true student of the game. And I have a lot of respect for Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, which is why I was disappointed when he signed with.
I was mad when he left because, I mean, though he wasn't the starting point guard. I mean, Drew Holiday, he's our starting guard. He's one of the faces of our franchise. We got him on a fat extension. Rajon Rondo, he is one of the best contributors in the league. I mean, I just miss having Rondo. I mean, he's a true dimer.
So, I mean, we'll just have to see how the season progresses.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. I mean, look, we're only 25 games in. There's like 50-some games left to go.
And then, you do have to consider that, I mean, the Pelicans didn't really hit their stride until midway through the season last year. So
that's true, because the Pelicans were barely in the playoff race midway through the season. And Boogie went down, and it was just the Pelicans just found their revival.
Yeah. Well, that trade for Mirotic also helped.
Yep. I have Nikola Mirotic out there. He's emerged as one of the leaders of the team as well. He's acclimated himself into the Pelican system. Hey, John, can I make a shout out real quick? I know this Cajun Connection, and I know that, look, it's no secret we don't like Alabama, but I do need to make like a special shout out, and this goes to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, as you know, in his first season, he led Alabama to a national title game. Second season, led him to a national title appearance before being replaced by Tua Tagovailoa midway through the national title game. And a lot of people were going to see if he was going to transfer. And any quarterback in his position would have transferred due to how talented he is. He chose to stay with Alabama. He sacrificed the red shirt so he can stay. And I felt that he reaped the benefits in the SEC championship game this past weekend. He was able to come in for Tua Tagovailoa and lead and rally Alabama to a 14-point comeback and a victory over Georgia in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I got to say, I salute Jalen Hurts because he never gave up on himself. He never gave up on his teammates. He never gave up on his coaches. He never gave up on his school. And I got to say, I have a newfound respect for Jalen Hurts. Great stand-up guy. Jalen Hurts, I respect the living hell out of you, man.
Okay. Touching. Your grace period has now officially ended.
But for real, though, I just had to get that off my chest about Jalen Hurts.
Okay. We can shut up about Bama now.
All right. I'm going to shut up about Alabama. Bama, I hope y'all lose.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are your hopes looking forward towards the rest of the season as far as the Pelicans go?
It's going to be a lot of up and downs. I do hope that they do make a splash because, the trade deadline is one of the busiest times in NBA. And I hope the Pelicans make a splash in this one, just depending on how their salary cap is. As you know, the Bensons have been horrible with salary cap over the years. I just hope that Gale turns the fortunes for the Benson family as far as the salary cap is concerned. If the Pelicans can get their salary cap to where they need to be, they can bring in another big star to complement Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis. They were able to bring in Julius Randle, but it seems that they need to bring in at least one more big-time player, at least one more major contributor.
So, I guess the last thing to talk about right now, men's basketball. Tigers sitting at 6-2 right now, but they have lost their two biggest matchups.
That was Oklahoma State and was it Marquette?
Yeah, it was Marquette.
It's beginning of the year. Will Wade, he's still trying to shake some cobwebs out of their game plan.
Though they did beat Memphis.
They did. And this is a team that's led by Hardaway. Mm-hmm. But I feel they're still trying to knock out some cobwebs off their game. the season is young, so I feel the Tigers are going to pick things up as the season goes. They do have some things they got to work on, but I do feel that they can pick some things up. I mean, they're going against Incarnate Word this weekend, which should be a cakewalk victory for the Tigers. But then again, they had to fight with North Carolina Greensboro to win. They had to fight with Louisiana Tech to win. So, you never know what you're going to get at that Tigers team. Just depends. All depends on which Tigers team shows up.
They're a real talented team, though.
Very talented. I mean, the recruiting has gotten a lot better. It's where LSU basketball is really starting to pick up their market as far as recruiting is going. You know, Will Wade, he's really built a name for himself.
Assuming they don't get into trouble. Assuming they don't get into trouble with the whole recruiting thing.
The recruiting probe has just. You look at Arizona. I mean, it really killed them. I mean, but these days everybody's getting probed. If they see you're doing good and they don't want you doing good, they will probe you and they will find every single reason. And NCAA is rich. They will slide money to some fake witnesses and ultimately
it wasn't,
burn you.
It wasn't the NCAA. It was the FBI. The FBI was doing an investigation into NCAA.
I mean, why does it have to do with the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation? That's something NCAA should handle.
Well, I think the FBI got involved because the NCAA didn't handle it.
Well, sound like some toxicity in the upper levels.
People are going to jail because of this, dude. There's big money involved.
Yeah, y'all can have that. I'm fine where I'm at. Well, not really, but still.
Yeah, this whole thing with Reebok shoes and everything.
Oh, wow. Y'all can have that.
Okay. Well, that's about that. Still got another 72 days until baseball season. Tiger baseball.
Tiger baseball. I'm ready. I'm ready to see the Tigers make an Omaha push.
They had a fantastic recruiting class this year.
We're going to see some growing pains starting in the season because they got a lot of new players coming in. It's probably going to be some clashing of heads probably starting off. But I feel the Tigers are going to get together. They're going to get together really quick. Something's going to be.
They got a pretty tough non-conference schedule. You know, they have a 3-game series against Texas, and I believe they also have a 2-game series against Notre Dame. So it's going to be a grind.
Interesting. So we're going to see how LSU baseball handles it. But Paul Manera is going to rally them, and he's going to get them together real quick. So I'm excited for baseball. They got Omaha push. This is the year Tigers go back to Omaha.
Again.
Yeah,
well, you know.
Also, they need to update that intimidation board. They need to update that.
Yeah.
Because it looks faded.
It looks pretty faded.
Like, put up something like cool, something modern. But then again, it just might just be, like a landmark on the LSU campus.
Well, you know, I mean, it would be nice if they add another date to that.
They should. If the Tigers win another national championship game, which they will within the next 2 to 3 seasons, might be next season. I hope.
Might be this upcoming season.
Yeah. Then it's time to update the intimidation board.
The trend that I see with the Paul Manera era, they've kind of fallen into right now, is that the Tigers are a legit contender for Omaha every other year, which this would be.
Because, I mean, the year that they are contenders for Omaha, they have their players, but next thing you know, I mean, a lot of these players are MLB prospects.
Yeah,
lose a lot of them to the draft, and then he has to start over. But you look at how quickly Paul Manera rebuilds. It only takes them one season. Like this past season, they went through their rebuilding season. Now they're about to be competing again because the new guys that came in last season during the rebuild season, they got experience in their belt. They're a little more seasoned. They have evolved their game, and then they're bringing in a remarkable, an amazing recruiting class. And so now here comes it's kind of like the crawl and walk are put into one when he goes through his rebuilding phase. Now the Tigers are about to run full speed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, let's see, because they made They made the World Series in 2012, or was it? No, it's 2013. 2013, 2015, 2017. So every other year right now, and they should compete for Omaha this 2019 season. So
it's coming. Watch out for them Tigers. They're going to be running full speed.
However, this past recruiting class has the meat to it, to where it could be potentially like the I want to say the 08 recruiting class.
You talking about the year they beat Texas for the national title?
No, that was 09, but they got to the World Series in 08 as well, and it was that 08 recruiting class that made a huge, like a huge, contribution towards that, because it brought in, Ryan Shemp and DJ LeMahieu.
I remember DJ LeMahieu.
And then I want to say Lewis Coleman was,
and LeMahieu is still
not
in,
Coleman.
and LeMahieu is still in the majors right now.
Yeah, LeMahieu is easily becoming one of the major league's best.
But I think the next big thing is Alex Bregman. He's about to go into his third season, I believe.
Yeah, with the Stros.
And he has emerged as one of the top players in the league. So, I mean, LSU, not only these players are performing well on the college level, but they're getting drafted high, and they're also making an impact in the majors. It just goes to show at how well Paul Maneri has trained them during their time in college. So,
yeah. And then ultimately, I want to say is the 08 recruiting class got them to the World Series. It was the 09 recruiting class that won it, because that brought Matuk and Austin Nola.
I remember those guys.
So, which they had a pretty good recruiting class last year, and they got one coming in this year. So I don't know. We may could see LSU make the trip to Omaha back-to-back seasons for the first time since 08, 09.
It can happen, and it's going to, whether y'all like it or not.
So, yeah, I'm excited about this upcoming baseball season, especially now that, the football season is one game away from being in the past, and, basketball is still a little bit of an unknown at this point.
It's going, like we said, it's going to build like around January, February time. That's when it's going to really build up and start heating up.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been this episode of Cajun Connection. I'm John Barons.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
Thank you, and tune in next time.
Signing out.